Hoping that the audio levels are okay. Keep trying to work on them between streams. Because I realized that for the longest time my audio was really too quiet. Both like my actual mic audio and then just also like the ambient sounds. So, hoping that they're more balanced this time. They sounded okay for the Sabbath Singing channel that I did last month. By the way, you should check out. I did that and it was a lot of fun. I had 5 awesome people who did it with me, so you can check that out. It's so fun. But yeah, I tweaked the audio levels for that. It sounded okay. It didn't sound too terribly quiet that time, so I'm hoping I was smart and kept the settings. I won't be able to know until tomorrow when I listen back to this, so I can figure out. Hi, hey, hello. My name is Alex from Rivas. I am a non-binary and autistic author from the Pacific Northwest. I wrote a sapphic fantasy dark academia book called The Sharp and the Lasting Pain that released almost 1 year ago. It will turn 1 year old on October 10th. Probably be doing a sale to celebrate that. I am now working on The Distance Between Stars and Salt, which is a tragic steampunk fantasy novel about a woman stuck in her wife's shadow who goes on a dangerous quest to find her own sense of self. And the thing we're working on tonight is Those Who Emerge from Ashes, which is an adult dark fantasy novel following 3 women whose lives become entangled as a centuries-long quest to bring about the new age of gods finally comes to a close. And so I don't think I've ever actually worked on it on stream before yet. I've mentioned it a ton, I feel like. Just because it'll get on my brain and then I'll work on it in the background and then I'll need something else to do and then I'll not think about it anymore and then I'll think about it again and the cycle continues ever onward. But as I'm getting towards the end of The Distance Between Stars and Salt, I'm finding I don't have a thing occupy me and like stand in the way anymore. Sorry, I should put my phone. I don't have anything kind of standing in the way anymore between me and The Distance Between Stars and Salt. So, or standing between me and Those Who Emerge from Ashes. Once The Distance Between Stars and Salt is done, like I have a couple short stories I'm working on. I have a couple like novella ideas, but beyond that, like I don't know. I don't think there's anything. So I'm out of excuses to not work on it. So I should probably work on it. Speaking of being out of excuses, one thing that I did do, and is part of the reason why I did the Sapphics and SFF panel, is I went to WorldCon last month, which was a lot of fun. I had my issues with it. There were some things that could have been done better, I'd say that. But on the whole, it was a lot of fun, and the reason I mentioned excuses specifically is because I went to the Writing Excuses live show, which was really cool because I got to ask them a question. And I've been listening to Writing Excuses for years now. So they did 2 episodes while we were there for the live show. They did a Q&A, and then they took one of those questions. They were like, oh, that'll be a can of worms, and they did a whole episode about that. And so the episode ended up being about the messy middle, is what they called it. And the Q&A, I believe, is Patreon subscriber only for them. So you can sub to them on Patreon. But in like a really small way, I'm now a part of something I've been listening to for years. And I get a little misty-eyed thinking about that, so that's really cool. I also saw Brandon Sanderson. I made him sign Wordbreaker. I've done a couple of things this year where it's like, oh, I've been looking forward to like doing this for forever. I'll like lose my mind about it when it happens. So I went and saw My Chemical Romance back in July, and that was one of the best nights of my life, honestly. I've looked up to that band for years, and then I wasn't able to listen to them when they broke up for a while, and then I slowly started to it, and it's been a time for me since I went to the concert. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna be like sobbing the entire time, and I didn't really until I started like going through the pictures and videos I had taken the day after to like process them. And even then, it wasn't like I got misty-eyed and I was like emotional about it, but it wasn't like tears. And then there was another thing that I had that same thought for, and it didn't happen. I can't remember what it was right now. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna like lose my mind to this, and then I didn't. But I'm proud that I kept myself together until he left, because we were like all in a line. He was just like walking down the line and signing books. But like as soon as I left that signing line, I just hid myself in the closest room I could find, which was the LGBTQ lounge actually, and I just cried. I was so overcome with emotions, because like, I say what you will about Brandon Sanderson. Is he the greatest writer ever? No. I've not read Stormlight Archive. I know a lot of people are disappointed by the latest book that has come out from the Stormlight Archive. I have no thoughts. I haven't read it yet. It's a big and intimidating series, so to be honest with you, I may not ever read it. But I read the first book of Mistborn, and I liked that well enough for my favorite book, and the one I made him sign is Warbreaker. I think it does a lot of really interesting things. People say that he can't write humor, but Lightweaver is the funniest motherfucker ever. He's so funny, and I love him so much. He's just such a good character. And then Vivenna, and Siri, their relationship is really fascinating. I just really like the way that he explores it, and I like the living gods and the color magic and all. Like, I really like Warbreaker, and that seems to be one of his less popular ones, which makes me sad because it's a really good book in my opinion. And so that's like the hill that I'll die on. And then I have listened to Writing Excuses, and until few years ago, he was one of the members of that. And he also does his own independent educational like lecture series, because he's a professor program. He does a lecture series, and every year he puts the videos up on YouTube. And so up until I haven't listened to this year's, but I've listened to every single other year's lectures, and taken notes on them. And so I feel like I've really learned a lot from him in terms of like fantasy and whatnot. I've learned a lot from others too, but he's like the one I've been the most consistent with, I guess. And so that is something like I had seconds, but I did get a picture with him, and that was really cool. And I got to tell him that I've learned so much from him, and he told me to keep writing, and that felt really cool. So anyway, I did go to Worldcon. That was a lot of fun. I saw my writing group in person, which was really big, because one of us lives in the eastern part of my state, one of us lives on the other side of the country, and then one of us is Canadian, and she, for reasons that are probably obvious, did not come down for Worldcon. But the other two I did get to meet, and that was really, really cool. So I got to meet them, I got to hang out with them, we played Magic, I lost every single round, but it was fun. What else? I went to a lot of panels. Some were better than others, and I did see somebody from another one of my real life groups be a panelist. So he went to 4 panels, I went to 3 of them. There was a schedule conflict with the first one that he did, but other than that, he's a really cool, funny, insightful guy. And so it was really cool to get to see him talk. And, I've been talking for about 15 minutes now. Oh, more like 12. So anyway, I went to Worldcon. It was cool. That's part of why I haven't done another stream since, is I have been really tired. And then I've just been busy. So, but I finally wanted to do one tonight. I guess I'll transition here. So plan tonight is I would like to work on an outline for those who emerge from ashes, and I would like to maybe do some sprints for the distance between stars and salts. That's going to depend. I need to end this at like 8 so I can shower. So we're going to see how far I get, and we'll go from there. And I guess the reason I kind of wanted to go over the outline process for those who emerge from ashes is it's an interesting book. I've done books with multiple POVs before. So my debut, A Sharper, More Lasting Pain, technically has like 5, I think, because there's the prologue, which is audio logs from Chloe Duvall. There's the interlude, which is that, but like the real version of them. There's Simone and there's Nadia. There's like 6. So there's Simone, there's Nadia, and then Etienne gets a chapter at the very, very end. And then there's an epilogue with like the monster hive mind, kind of. But for the bulk of the book is just Simone and Nadia back to back. And they were pretty easy to outline. I kind of outlined them in tandem. I have it in my notebooks, and I'm actually getting a notebook tomorrow, which I'm very excited about. I can't wait for it to get here because I want to start doing more notes. I want to try and move back to analog, honestly. I had a scare like a week ago now, I think, where my the distance between stars and salt draft got deleted, and I panicked and I cried. So that was cool. And like obviously I'm still gonna draft online. I'm not psychopath. I don't think I could handwrite a bunch. I'll handwrite snippets and stuff, but like outlines, character notes, world notes, story notes, that kind of shit I want to go back to being more analog about. And so I've been doing that. But I wanted to just like, I've been taking a lot of notes recently, and going to Worldcon gave me some book thoughts, and then reading some things gave me some more book thoughts. Like, if I go, I've sent so many like short essays to my friends about like what's going on. Oh yeah. I keep it for. Oh yeah, I also talked about comp titles, which was fun because one of the things is I went to Worldcon, and I got to talk to Carl Engelliard, who is a senior editor at TWEfA. He's also the editor who worked on Gideon Ninth series, Block Tomb series, which was really cool. So I got to talk to him for a little bit. He told us about a book called Kill All Wizards, which sounds really funny. It's about this barbarian guy who this city of this like wizard council takes his sword, and he's really pissed off about that, so he wants to kill them all. But the only way he can get to that point is he has to join High Wizard Society, play by the rules for a while, and then like kill them. It sounds really funny. So that one I got to put on my list because of that one I put on my list because you don't need to see what's in my docs, so I'm just gonna do that for a second, but I'm still here. Because one thing I also did in preparation for Worldcon is I wrote query letters, so I guess we can take a look at that. I just have like a bunch of shit I want to show off because it's been a while. Yeah, so I wrote one for the distance between stars and salt. I actually did get to pitch the distance between stars and salt at a pitch panel, and it was super well received that one of the panelists actually was like, take my card, I need to know when this comes out. So I'll probably closer to release like email her and send her a personal pitch or something, just because I'm like, yeah, that's such cool. Let me get out my notebook because I wrote it down. Because yeah. So the pitch that I brought to their panel was: a woman stuck in her wife's shadow seeks her own identity while sailing across her drowned world to help fight a cosmic threat intent on devouring all life. And they really, really liked it. And I got to shout my spout, and that was really cool. So I got to pitch the distance between stars and salt, and then because I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, I wrote queries for the distance between stars and salt, even though I want to self-publish that, just for fun. And then I did one for those who emerge from ashes. Because that one I may try trad with for like a second. I'm like almost fully married to going self all the way, but I figure if anything has trad potential, those who emerge from ashes would. And I just try it and see if I get a response, and then if I don't, it's no big deal. I have a plan. Going trad is like the backup plan to my plan, I guess, except it's the plan that I'm going to go for first. So anyway, this is the sample query that I wrote for those who emerge from ashes, just because I wanted to like have something just in case. And you'll notice that I focused on, so I've spun a whole bunch of yarn. So the outline for this one is going to be a little difficult because with A Sharper More Lasting Pain, it was 2 concurrent timelines, 2 concurrent characters. I was flipping back and forth consistently. So chapter 1 is Simone, chapter 2 is Nadia, chapter 3 is Simone, chapter 4 is Nadia, etc., etc. And so that was a lot easier because I only had to manage their respective timelines. This one, though, it's 3 people, so there's 1 extra person to keep count for, and they're all happening at the same time, so I have to piece together their individual character arcs, where that falls in the timeline, like where each chapter is going to happen. But with queries, even if it's a multi-POV book, you want to focus on the POV of one of those people. And so for this query letter, I focused on Maka, because Maka is kind of the reason all this happens in the first place. Also, don't pay attention to the word count because it's not correct. It's like fully wrote. Again, I just wrote this for fun. And also, you wouldn't have the to whom it may concern. You would personalize it to whatever editor it is. And this is just like a template anyway. But I guess I'll just kind of read it just so we can kind of go over like what I have. So it says, to whom it may concern. Maka Willards feels time's forward march in her blood. A goddess bound, she has spent untold lifetimes repeating the same circumstances. First comes the high priest and his newfound scribe, then comes the journey, then, lastly, unfathomable ruin. No matter how many times Maka rewinds the clock, the story ends with the death of everyone she loves. So when she sets the loop back this time, drastic changes are in order. Dakota Locke, the woman Maka is desperate to save above everything else, will no longer be the scribe. Catalin Basurto, Maka's most unlikely ally, will have all of her hopes and dreams fulfilled, all for the greater good, so Maka tells herself. But when the cruelty of Maka's home cathedral and her own waning powerlessness proves too much to bear, Maka forsakes her plan and runs. Too bad fate has an uncanny way of repeating itself no matter how hard she tries. At 150,000 words, Those Who Emerge from Ashes is an adult dark fantasy standalone with serious potential fit for fans of the religious complexity of Brandon Sander's Warbreaker, the sapphic time loop tragedy of Puelli Magi Madoka Magica, and the unceasing cruelty of the world of FromSoft's Dark Souls franchise. I'm a non-binary and autistic author from Northern Washington. This novel is a product of my background in gaming, my obsession with all things fantastical, and my desire to portray queerness in all of its forms. So some things I have learned since writing this query letter and going to Worldcon. I knew the personalization bit off the bat, and actually I'm kind of really happy with the actual like story part of it. I would probably like tweak wordage and whatnot, but that's the gist of the book. I would want to have a more accurate word count. This definitely would not fly as a debut. And then a big thing when I talked to Carl is comps, and so he thought that my Puelli Magi Madoka Magica comp was really strong for like the time loop stuff, but because Maka was initially inspired by Homoda Akemi, but Warbreaker, he said, A, it's too big, which I knew, but, and B, the first thing he thinks of when he hears a Warbreaker comp is color theory, which my book doesn't really have a whole lot to do with colors at all. So, the best advice he gave me was to kind of think about what the first thing people think of when you use a comp title is. And so in Madoka Magica's case, A, it's a deconstruction of the magical girl, like, trope plotline, and B, insane Toxicuri. And I can tap into the insane Toxicuri element of it. And then, so after that, I did a lot of soul searching. There was one book in particular I thought about using the comp as, but the author's kind of a terrible person and they're anti-Semitic, and I kind of felt icky about it. So I talked to some friends about, some alternatives. And so I think because this is a duology, that's why I say with serious potential. I should probably say with duology potential, really. Because it is just this one and the sequel, which is called Those Who Ascend from Ruin. And so for this one, I think the comps we've settled on, and I need to read this first one, is Vespertine meets Six Deaths of the Saints meets Scriptures. Which I think is good. I need to read Vespertine to see if I fully agree with that, but the general nuns cathedral sort of setup feels like it fits. So not so much the dealing with death and whatnot, but I think there's probably elements of that book that I could borrow anyway. And then Six Deaths of the Saint is probably obvious based on the rest of the query. The whole time loop thing isn't actually revealed until towards the end. So I'm trying to figure out how to balance that, because the whole thing is that this is a time loop and it's hinted at for most of the book, but you don't find out for sure until towards the end when shit goes wrong again. And that's also why this is a duology, is because Those Who Emerge from Ashes is the loop before the final loop, and Those Who Ascend from Ruin is the final loop. I also went to a really interesting time loops panel, where I got some neat advice about time loops and this plot conceit of mine, and how I can make it work. Because it's my main thing was well, I have the loop before the final loop and I have the final loop, but if everything gets reset, how do I not make a reader feel like their time was wasted? Because you just read this entire book and now Maka undoes it all, and the consensus answer that I got was basically, well, it'll come down to the characters, because in this one, Catalin is in on it being a loop, and in the next one, Dakota will be in on it being a loop. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to go over that for a second. So I'm kind of all over the place. I haven't streamed in a minute, so this is also very long because where's she going? So I Those Who Emerge from Ashes, this one's more organic. I have tried to write this book so many times. I've talked endlessly kind of about the process, and actually on my newsletter, a week ago, I wrote a piece about long-form projects and Audra Winter. If you're unfamiliar, Audra Winter is BookTok's Enemy of the Week, because of some interesting decisions that she had made. But anyway, the point of that think piece was I saw myself a lot in Audra, at least at the start, and it made me kind of nervous because I have been working on this project for over 10 years, like she has with her Scorpius books. By the way, if you hear birds, my cat is completely obsessed with cat TV, which is just footage of squirrels and birds and stuff, and he screams at me if I don't turn it on. So it is on, and I hope it's on. But anyway, so she's been working on this thing for since she was 12 years old, so 10 years. I've been working on this for over 10 years, and her main character is autistic, and world history is a special interest of hers, and Dakota is a field historian with elements of the world history being a special interest of hers, and just a few similarities. And so I was getting kind of nervous, I guess. And so this was just kind of walking through the history of those who emerged from ashes, how it has changed over the years, and the ways that I have improved upon myself in comparison to how I kind of feel Audra hasn't. Because it's very clear she published way too early. And B, it doesn't sound like a whole, like she says it has, but it doesn't sound or feel like a whole lot has changed from the ideas that she had when she was 12 years old. Meanwhile, I've made a ton of changes. Right now, the most that remains the same between the original iteration and the current iteration of those who emerge from ashes is Maka and Dakota themselves, because they still exist. They're the main characters. That's it. Well, everything else has basically changed. A whole bunch of characters were scrapped, and on and on and on. So, but yeah, I just got nervous for a bit, I guess, about all that. So, but why are we here? So I'm gonna outline this, and normally I would just go, chapter by chapter, or when I do this analog, I just have like a table. I probably will make a table. Mister, did you? I'll check on you in a minute. I'll probably like make out a table that like compares their storylines, and then I can figure out how it leads. It's just not quite the same. So I think the way I want to approach this is I want to write out their actual character arcs. Kind of how we open the book with them, and like kind of where they're going by the end of the book, because I have made some minor tweaks since this last draft was started. You can see I did start something. That is 63,000 words. So I did start a while ago, like 3 years ago. I made some minor tweaks. I think the iteration that I have is, for the most part, the iteration I want to use. But I've had some, mostly on Catalin's part, actually. I've had some Catalin things that I want to incorporate. And then also, I don't have like the whole second half of the book at all. Every time I write this fucking book, I get to the part where all the gods are met and they start the end of their pilgrimage, and then something happens, or I hate the book or whatever, and I start completely over. And so I would like to at least have an idea of where I'm going. Like, I don't even know how it ends. Like, I know something will happen and the timeline will reset, but I haven't decided where that's going to happen or how it's going to happen. So there's the point here is there's a lot to figure out still. And so I think the way I want to outline it tonight is I want to try and go by character arcs. So I want to try and, why are you like this? There we go. I want to try and write at least like one or two of them out, and then we'll kind of see where we're at from there. I am going to take a quick break first, though, because I need to feed the sun. So I will be right back. Sorry about that. Put that back there. Make sure this is clipped high enough to hear me. Okay. Okay, so here's where I need to pull the clicker down. So started writing out Catelyn's character arc, and then I got this and stuff. But I think doing it by character arc in general, like their general timelines, then I can kind of figure out how to weave them together. And there obviously will be spoilers. I'm just going to start typing out kind of what I wrote down. This is all so far just what I had wrote down before this. was as far as I wrote down. Physically in my notebook recently. So I'm gonna put away. Okay. Super good. I just want to like expand on things, I guess. And choose Germans because Germans is smaller. Also, Wayfarer has this weird thing where like towards the end of it, the like cursor won't be really. I always hate that. Ah, okay. Kind of figuring things out as I look over this. Kind of a vague overview of like the events that happen, or at least what I have so far. Good, I didn't just delete a bunch of shit for no reason. Cool. notebook again. In and out, in and out, in and out. So I wrote something down. I also started writing stuff with secrets here. I don't know what exactly she'll learn yet. We can get there later. Okay, let's go. Finish Nicole. TV. You're not even fucking watching it anyway. What are you doing? You are fine. Women come to bring sugar and tea and rum. Oh, that's my head again. Is anytime L'Oreal is referenced, his pronouns are all capitalized. Because he's basically kind of like a living god. At least to them, so. What the fuck am I saying? Well, I also had mentioned that, like, Evelyn knows she's Life of writers, not knowing how to fucking spell shit. Alternating in between calling them cycle zones. That's cycle. just kind of supposed to be a rough outline of like the general trajectory, I guess. Kind of jumping around between the two of them right now while I figure shit out. because I want to try and keep at least somewhat of an accurate count of words and whatnot, so. I think once my new notebook comes in and I set it up, still, I will probably go through this, what I'm writing right now, and make some sort of like storybook or whatever. I bet the majority of things don't have to change. Really, the biggest thing is I need in Catalin's storyline right now to emphasize that she knows about the time loop, and also the dark presence in the cathedral for reasons. Those are the two like biggest things that I have to emphasize. It shouldn't take too much to do. I definitely need to add at least like a couple of scenes, maybe a chapter, and then there's one thing that happens that is what prompts Maka to run away. Is there's this girl Araceli, and Catalin, as sort of the pet of Scholar Celine, has kept close tabs on Araceli, and has a direct hand in her excommunication, and the excommunication is what causes Maka to run. But I think I want there to be a scene before the excommunication happens, because Catalin is told about it ahead of time, so I kind of want there to be a scene where, oh my god, why didn't you come to me? Leave me alone. Yes, it's me. Jesus Christ. Anyway, what am I was saying, so the big thing is I want more scenes about the presence, I want more scenes about Catalin expecting it, more scenes about her kind of becoming aware of the time loop, and also, before Araceli is excommunicated, I want a scene where Catalin tries to tell her and fails to. Probably some sad commentary sex because I'm new, but I'm not like 100% sure. That's like the biggest change that needs to happen. Because Maka's shouldn't need to change, really, and Dakota's should need to change even less than that, because he's not going to be aware of the loop this go around. Although there's hints, like a scene that I really like is she gets to this town in Hatteray, that's the country, and she's just run away from her abusive handler. She has no idea where she's at. She ended up kind of getting roped into this thing because, she's in town after running away. She's trying to get a ticket for the train. There's guards behind her. There's a commotion. She thinks they're after her, so she runs. And the train is leaving the station. She managed to like hop on at like the last second, and then she knows somebody hopped on with her. Who we find out their name is Diane, and they're part of this like performance troupe, and they are the ones the guards were after. Although Dakota didn't know this at the time. And so, they talk for a little bit, and then they part ways when the train stops. And so Dakota's just kind of in the town square. She empties her pockets, and it's kind of like a running list of like the things she has in her pockets. And I really, really like how that scene turned out. One of the things she doesn't remember getting, is there's a coin, kind of depicting a god of time on it. And so there's like hints, but she's not gonna get it this time. So I want there to be hints, and I think I have a couple of good ones. And especially, oh man, Maka's POV is going to be so hard. Because I don't know when exactly I want to reveal. that, I don't know how soon, probably when, which is earlier than I intended it to be, probably earlier than thought, but when Catalan confronts Maka about the time loop, that's going to be before the third act, I think. And so then the third act is kind of from them getting to Elric and their pilgrimage through the woods to Dune. So probably before that third act is when I'll reveal the time loop, which is earlier than I wanted it to be, but it is what it is. And even kind of as I'm untangling this and getting more of a sense of like how I want this to end and how I want to address, which is good. I don't know where I was going with that. My brain keeps blue screening, but I think the point is the biggest things that need to change is Catalan's. Even then, it's really not that much. It's mostly just adding things, and recontextualizing a few scenes that happen. It's adding things, which is unfortunate for my word, but we're not gonna think about it. So that's good. It's good. None of them really need to change. It's just adding shit. And then, writing the whole second half of the book. Because even, like, going through the sequence of events that happened and kind of what I want to happen next, which is what I just been a while deleting. I'm like, yeah, I'm happy with that decision, blah, blah, blah. There's not a whole lot I need to change. It's just adding things, so. Also is an interesting character. I actually sent her first two chapters are her, and I sent them to my writing group. And they had some thoughts overall, but they thought it was an interesting introduction to the book because she's such a morally gray character, even from the get-go. Like, it's clear she's after like her own, and it's clear that she is at least somewhat a willing participant in the basic structure of the Scholars of the Kindle, which is a change from the Scholars of the Lost, because I think Lost didn't make much sense, and so the Kindle kind of gives more into like the Lurkay and like how that all works. Anyway, she's such a morally gray character because she's spent so long in this institution and she hates this institution, but she weaponizes it for her own gain and to kind of ensure her own survival. So she becomes Scholar Celine's pet. She rats out on all the other scholars. She has, albeit an indirect hand in Araceli's excommunication, which, despite being a deeply triggering and traumatic event for her, she still caused it. There's this dark force in the cathedral she's trying to make friends with. She has her own little, like, spy network, almost. Like, she's not good, but she has the potential for goodness, and even later on when she, like, forces herself onto the High Priest's entourage, and she aims to kill Dakota, like, it's all out of self-preservation. It's like, I need to do this because I no longer know what my life looks like if I don't. And so she's trying to keep, like, continuously assert herself to the scholars, assert her, like, necessity, basically. She's really fascinating, to be honest. I think think actually, I haven't wrote those memories from ashes, but I think I did a live stream. I think I started on Twitch. And, like, the first live stream I did was an episode where I played Skyrim, like, role-playing as Catalan. I kind of want to, but, the point of that, though, is, the point of that is, she's such an interesting character, and could go a whole lot of different ways. Like, I want her to have a good ending, and I think the direction I'm leaning right now is she wants to essentially take some of that burden off of Maka and try and help, like, orchestrate a good ending for them all. And I mean, it still fails, but at least, you know, the thought was there, right? Because the other thought that I have, and this is mostly for those who listen from Ruin, spoilers, obviously, but the whole thing with the presence in the cathedral is, it is essentially a warped other version of Maka. So anytime she resets time, she's essentially, she as the original Maka is taking the place of, like, the Maka that exists in that timeline. And over time, as she's done this more and more and more, she's kind of, like, warped them into, like, this monstrous amalgamation of all potential Makas, basically. I don't know how to fully explain it, but anyway, that's the presence in the cathedral, and it's at the cathedral because Maka spent basically her entire lifetimes there. And so it's just this force, and it's growing, and Catalan, probably one of the strongest Lurike in the cathedral, is, like, the only one who can feel it yet. And so she's, like, trying to connect with it and get to the source of it, not knowing that it's Maka. And so a thought I had for a second in Those Who Ascend from Ruin is essentially her taking hold of it and using it to her own ends and kind of having, like, a tragic villain arc. I don't know yet what her end goal is, to be completely honest with you. It's really up in the air. She can go, of any of them, she can go in a whole lot of directions. Maka, I don't want to say she's a tragic villain. She does a lot of fucked up things in the name of love and to, like, justify her own means. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, if she doesn't get this right, everybody's going to die. Everybody fails, not just Dakota, but she's mostly in this for Dakota. And so she keeps resetting it over and over and over and over and over again, constantly, like, tweaking things, so maybe this person gets excommunicated instead, or blah blah blah. And over these attempts, Dakota has always been the scribe, and that's kind of my justification for myself, because in all the other drafts that I had, she essentially, like, applied to become the scribe and then did. And so I wanted to, like, keep a facet of that. And so she's been the scribe in all these other timelines, and that's, like, the last thing that Maka changes and Maka takes away from her, is she takes away the potential for her to become the scribe. So she never joins the scholars. She stays with her abusive handler, and her life just kind of spirals out from there. And in that place, Maka does what she thinks is a kindness, and she tries to give the role of the scribe to Catalan instead. But instead it goes to Mika, and so then Scholar Celine and Catalan orchestrate his death. That's one of the first things you learn is the way I have it right now. The very first chapter we learned that Mika had, the exact words of Mika has been disposed of. That's one of the first things the Scholar Celine says. And over that and the next chapter, it, like, slowly unfolds to you that the scholars did it, and also that Catalan knew about it. Hence, going back to the whole, she's a really interesting, morally gray character. Maka is morally gray, still, in different ways. And she's done all of these things for what she convinces herself is the greater good. But, like, no matter what she does, bad things still happen, people still get hurt, everything still gets fucked up, and everybody dies. And she's kind of slowly going nuts from that, as one does. There's a reason that Madoka is a comp, because Homura Akemi, it was, like, the original blueprint that I used for Maka's character, because, spoilers for Madoka Magica, I guess, in that first timeline, like, Homura was, like, the really shy girl that Madoka and Mami and all of them kind of, like, took under the wing. They all became magical girls. And then, I think it's Madoka becomes a witch. Somebody becomes a witch, and Madoka dies, basically. But, Homura has control of the time, so she resets it, and by the time of Madoka Magica, we found out she's reset it over and over and over and over and over again. So now Madoka is the one who's trying to become a magical girl, and Homura is trying, like, every fucking thing she can to keep Madoka from becoming a magical girl. And by the end of the show, Madoka becomes one anyway. And the way that she, basically her wish erases the need for magical girls and basically makes her like the god of magical girls. So then there's the movie Rebellion, where Homura, even though everybody kind of got a happy ending, except for Madoka, I guess, because she got, like, erased from existence, Homura is not happy with how that resulted because Madoka's not there, and so she basically becomes the devil to remove Madoka from godhood. And now there's While Perfect Not Rising, which comes out next year, and I'm so excited. I'm going to go see it in theaters with my spouse. We're really excited about it. I actually really need to rewatch the movies. But anyway, so she basically becomes the devil. I don't know what's going to happen in While Perfect Not Rising. The trailer fucking tracks. So I'm very excited. But the point here is Homura, there's a reason she was a main inspiration, and there's a reason I'm using Madoka as a comp. And so then we'll get to those for Sent from Ruin, and that was going to be really fun. Comps for that one are The Isle in the Silver Sea by Tasha Suri and Harrow the Ninth. Specifically Harrow the Ninth, for reasons. Because the thing I'm doing with that is, like, the warped mangas. They're the ones narrating the story. Anyway, it's a whole thing. So anyway, I'm very excited to get that. But yeah, Catalan and Maka are very gray people for different reasons, because Catalan has done everything she's done for her own survival, and Maka has done everything she's done for Dakota's survival. Dakota's oblivious to all of this, and Dakota is just trying to live and have a good time and not be abused anymore. So that'll be fun to, like, write after things. Of them all, she's like the most, like, good, quote unquote. And I want her to have a good ending, and her having a good ending kind of necessitates Maka to have one. I just don't know if Catalan will get one. I want her to have one, because she's honestly my favorite, and I love her. Like, Maka is, like, the linchpin in all this, but Catalan's my favorite, for a lot of reasons. But given, like, the gravity of everything that she and Maka kind of do, it does make sense to me that at least one of them doesn't have a good ending. I mean, I could make it so that even though, like, Dakota lives and everybody's happy now, that, like, Maka dies somehow or something. I don't really know how I want to go about it yet. It doesn't seem real to me if all of them have good endings, despite, like, 2 of the 3 of them, when you really stop to think about it, being shitty people. So that's something I need to mull over now. Mull over more. So anyway, that's my long-winded aside about whether or not some girls get happy endings or not. So, I don't know, it's something I need to think about more. But I want, at least in this timeline, Catalan to try and, like, also help, since she has the awareness now, even though she's not, like, a god and can't become a god. Like, I don't know, she has some sort of idea that I need to figure out of, like, how she can help in this. Next timeline, though, things are going to be reset again, and it's the final timeline this time for reasons that I won't go into, even though I spoiled a bunch of the stream. And I just don't know I don't know exactly what I'll have her do yet. I haven't decided if I wanted to try and use not Maka for her own games. It would make sense for her to. So, I don't know. A bunch of things to mull over. I think I'm gonna try and do a little more of this, and then I am going to go to bed. No, I'm not gonna go to bed. I'm gonna shower and then go to bed. So we have about half an hour left. I'll probably stop it before then. But let's just kind of see what I can get. I would at least like to start Dakota's too. It would also kind of suck if Catalin is the one who didn't get a happy ending, though, because, like, Maka is most, like, eventually unwell, because she's had, like, lifetimes of all of this and her constant failures and whatnot, like, weighing upon her. Catalin, though, just, like, as a person, is not mentally well. She's the one I kick around the most. She's got chronic pain problems. She has a degenerative eye disease that really limits her vision, which makes it really, really fun to write, actually, because I can't when I can use visual descriptions, it's very hazy and blurry, and if she can see something clearly, it's because she's using magic, which takes a toll on her otherwise. And so that's been really interesting to write, and that's one thing that my writing group really did like about her POV, was how different the descriptions were, because I had to be unique with it. But also she's like insanely suicidal and self-harms a lot, and that is a core of her character, is just because she's ensuring her own survival in this cult doesn't mean it's bearing well on her. And so part of the reason that she's so strong as a Lurike is because she's tried to kill herself so many times. And that's the thing with Lurike, is their powers get stronger the more times they die, regardless of how they died, although there's a couple ways to kill them permanently. I don't want them to be like completely OP, but it is difficult to give them a true death. And so she is, not understanding this, has tried several times to take her own life and has failed. And now she's like really frail, but she's really strong, which is why she can feel this presence in the cathedral. And it sucks to me as somebody who is also mentally unwell if I give like the most obviously mentally unwell character the most unhappy ending, which is why I'm leaning harder towards like giving Maka the unhappy ending, even after like everything she's done. Like, everybody lives, but she doesn't get to have goodness about it. I don't know exactly, but I try not to think too hard about like how the potential reader might see it, even though it is something I have to evaluate at least like a little bit. Like, that's one thing with the Sharper, More Lasting Pin that I was super nervous about, because Etienne in particular is a gay man, trans gay man. And I deliberated a lot over whether or not to canonize him as trans. In fact, it's not explicitly ever said in a Sharper, More Lasting Pin that he's trans. That's something I need to cement in the sequel, because he'll have his own POV. But it is pretty obvious that he's a gay man, and he has the demeanor of a catty, artsy gay man, which can be a stereotype, but is also like the kind of, it is a kind of gay fandom. And he is a reflection of real life. But the entire time I was writing him, and the entire time that the book has been published, I've been so nervous about his reception in particular, because I don't want people to think I'm writing a stereotype. because I'm not trying to. Similarly with Nadia, her whole arc is about being a disabled woman in academia, and she doesn't have a happy ending yet. And so I've been very apprehensive about her and the book and whatnot, even though I'm so proud of having written it, because it is an honest portrayal of being a disabled woman in academia. And that experience is shitty. But because she doesn't get a happy ending, when I wrote it, I worried that people would think I'm just trying to add to the trauma porn narrative of like disabled people in books, which is not what I'm trying to do. I'm a disabled person. I experience chronic pain quite regularly. In fact, I didn't stream yesterday like I planned to because I had a pain flare up. But it's something I worried about. And I didn't let it stop me from publishing the book, obviously. It's out there. It is out there as I wanted it to be out there. And it's gotten some really good reception, including a really, really nice review I got from the Lesbury of all places. So that was really cool. But it is something I thought about a bit with that book. And with this book, right now, the biggest thing I'm thinking about is the reception to Catalin specifically, because she is the most like obviously fucked up. Like, it doesn't quite dawn on you how fucked up Maka is, at least until the time loop is revealed. And we kind of delve more into that, where it's like been revealed that like everything that's happened is because she's kind of orchestrated it to happen that way. So Catalin is the first like fucked up person that we see who's been fucked up by her circumstances. And as I think it over, it would suck to have the most like overtly fucked up person have the most fucked up ending. I guess is kind of what I'm... Again, the ending is so far off. I don't even know I'm worrying about it right now, but it is something that is coming to mind, at the very least. there's Catalan's done for now. I'll probably revisit this later. But it's just a basic overview. I do kind of want those to Ascend from Ruin to end with Maka's death, but I'm not like 100% married to the idea or sure yet. But I think I'm getting tired and I still need to shower. I'm a very sleepy child. So I think now I'm gonna call it there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I need to stop for now. I've gotten Catalan's basically done, and I've got Maka's mostly done. I need to do Dakota's still. And then I'll probably, like I said, once my notebook comes in, I will be working on kind of doing some sort of plot braid where I have one already. I kind of wrote out already, like, what has happened in all the chapters I have, but I need to, like, go back through and add in the things I need to add in to Catalan in particular in there. So, but I'm very excited for that. It's something. So, all that said, thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a good rest of your night. I don't know when I'm going to do this again. Hopefully soon. So, I have a writing group tomorrow, and then Wednesday have something. And then Thursday. So yeah. For earliest, I could see doing another one with Sunday, but like I mentioned earlier, I'm stable. It's gonna really depend on how I'm doing. So, but yeah, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.